Monday at the Touchdown Club. You guys hear me back in the right over there? Come on, let me see the blood flowing back there. Give me a wave. There we go. It is great. What a great crowd on a miserable day. Lord, was Saturday not enough? Could you just give us one more day? I got to be careful saying Lord because I've already started this meeting off in a bad way. I was just telling Earl, I was looking at my notes and I said, Earl, we're gonna have you here. This is where you're gonna be speaking. And I noticed he wasn't responding, so I was looking at him. I looked at him. He was in the middle of his prayer over his food. So I'm in big trouble. So somebody pray for me right here in a minute, Gary. So great to have you. Great to have the great Earl Campbell here. We're in for a super treat. Got him in here today and his son Christian from Austin. It's going to be a great meeting. Think about this. We've got two back-to-back of the greatest running backs to ever play the game here at Little Rock Touchdown Club, and that is outstanding. Couldn't do it without you. And from what I can tell already, you're going to be blessed, and it's going to be great. Earl's a great talker, and got a lot of ground to cover, I know, before we get him up here. Without further ado, come on up here, and Gary, help me out, buddy.
We do need to pray for David. He had a birthday. Yeah. And Rex had an anniversary and spent it with his with who? With your radio crew in Shawnee, Oklahoma. That's not good. Melissa, I hope you had dinner that night. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the day. Even if it is raining, you know what we need more than we do. Lord, we ask you to give us strength today, wisdom today. Help us to serve others, but serve you as we're doing that. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Gary. Much like the crowd at War Memorial on Saturday night, which was absolutely fantastic. I was so proud of Central Arkansas and the fans from South Arkansas. Yeah, showed up and were loud. I'm telling you, that was not an easy game. I was sitting up there in the warm press box. I did tailgating for 3 or 4 hours before that, though. And I tell you, my hat's off to everybody. And for you being here today. Today was one of those days where I'm just going to watch it online if I want to. But it's great to have you here. It adds to the room. You heard what Larry Zonka said last week about this being maybe the best club he's ever been to. So it's great to have you here. Just want to remind everybody, for those who couldn't be here, they can see it online. They go to our Facebook page. They can listen to it on the Buzz. They can go to lrtouchdown.com. All those things. Make sure you mute your phone, though. So we won't hear that throughout the show. Going to be exciting to hear Earl today. Want to remind everybody next week is Nathan Brown, who ironically we honored Nathan as a college, I think junior and senior as the MVP at Central Arkansas. Now he's back as their head coach. So let's have a good crowd for him. And they're playing well and looking at the playoffs. Rex, I'm sure we'll give an update on that. Week after that, Steve Atwater. So he's my old teammate, and I've worked on him, I'm not joking, for about 7 or 8 years. And for whatever reason, for about, I guess maybe about 8, 9 years ago, he just did not want to do anything public and wanted to get away from the whole football persona. And something has happened the last couple of years, and he's become more comfortable, and he's doing more things with the Broncos, so he's excited about coming. And I think this may be the first time we've had Atwater in Central Arkansas in Little Rock. I can't even remember, maybe since he graduated. So I thank all of you for joining. We couldn't do it without you. If you hadn't joined, pay the $75. It all goes towards helping get great people here like Earl and Zonka and Too Tall and Mean Joe and others. So couldn't do it without our sponsor, too. I want to thank them real quick. Twin City Limousine, Greg Hatcher, and Popeye, thank you for their help as always. CGRW, Mark Raines, Dan Sawyer, Darren Gray. Cliff, we're going to get you hooked up with these guys. These guys at CGRW are the folks who are going to help Cliff and maybe get him in the NFL Hall of Fame. They handle all of our Cliff Harris Award stuff, which is getting ready to start, Cliff. We start getting, as a matter of fact, I turn on the TV, Pierre Desir, starting for the Colts. Matt Judon, who was a runner-up, starting for the Baltimore Ravens. All Division II guys that were Cliff Harris Award finalists. So we couldn't do it without the help of CGRW. Thank you guys for all your help there. 103.7 The Buzz, Justin Acre, Wes Moore, Tommy Smith, Roger Scott, everybody, Eric, Joe, all the folks at The Buzz. Thank you for being such a big supporter. Arkansas Urology and Epic Health, they sponsor the live broadcast where folks who are driving around can hear. Scott Davis, Tim Langford, thank you so much. They have a ton of locations. Guys, get yourself checked. Don't put it off any longer. War Memorial Stadium. I know we had a couple of technical difficulties with the clock, but I think we saw what War Memorial can be. And I think Chad Moore saw it. I think the players saw it. So congratulations to War Memorial and the fans for reminding us. That's when I was a player, that's what it felt like, to hear that crowd. It didn't matter whether it was raining. So I love having War Memorial as a sponsor, and I look forward to having some more great games. They just came up a little short of course, on the win. Farm Bureau, Pulaski County, Todd Dennis, Stephen Reichard. If you have any insurance issue, go to those guys. I have to think about where's Todd and Stephen? Are they here today? Listen, I think about you guys today down in my hometown of Panama City. Boy, it's just gone, some of those places down there. And I can imagine the people that do what you do down there have their hands full. But thank you for what you do in sponsoring the Touchdown Club. And if you need anything, go to those guys and let them give you a quote. They'll take real good care of you. Dairy Queen, the Lively Boys, the top DQs. And we got another Texan. You know that too. You know, we always say that Dairy Queen is big in Texas. And I noticed now, how many Texans have we had speak this year here at the Touchdown Club? But DQ is doing it right. Coming up next, Saline County on the way, and I look forward to having that announcement soon. But thank you, Dairy Queen. Verizon Arena, don't forget, tickets are now on sale for Razorback basketball, December 15th versus Texas San Antonio. Let's sell that thing out. Also, naming rights are still out there. Naming rights, I would love for it to come from someone in here. Somebody write a check? Anybody want to write a check for that? No? Big Red Stores, it's so exciting to see the opening of their latest store on Highway 70. If you hadn't gone by there, when you pull in, you get gas, you go in there and just say, "Hi, I'm from the Touchdown Club," and walk out. They won't know what you're talking about, but that's okay. As Roger Scott says, if you don't have a Big Red store in your neighborhood, you need to move near one. So thanks to all the folks from Big Red for being a great sponsor. Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. I just saw Judy Henry up there. And, where's Judy at? All the attorneys from Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. Cliff, you know, we would not have a Cliff Harris Award if not for Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. So we appreciate their support and the amazing legal work that they do. If you have any needs there, please see them. Crane Automotive, I got our Crane guys. Where are they at right there? I see them right there. You guys have been filling up the tables this year. I'm going to tell Larry you're using the tickets, which is great. 19 dealerships, 800 employees. Crane's team got them. Make sure, hold these guys over a barrel and say, we want a good deal because we're Touchdown Club members. They'll take good care of you. Democrat Gazette, Wally Hall, Amanda Copley. Where's Wally at? Wally continues his perfect attendance record. Thank you, Wally, for your support, Amanda Copley. We've got all Arkansas Preps Player of the Week. And when can we announce Amanda? When are we going to be able to announce our Preps Banquet speaker? Next week. I'll just tell you, everybody in this room will be excited. We've had Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Dick Vitale. I mean, there have been so many great ones, but this will be one I think the kids will really like, and I think all of us will be excited about. Last but not least, Simmons Bank, Chris White, Barry Ledbetter. If it weren't for Simmons, we would not be able to get guys like Earl Campbell. It took special circumstances and things for this to happen today, and Chris and Barry, we couldn't thank you enough. Now, I know you've been talking with Chris and Earl all day today about business, because they've got to meet business. They got a national award called the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award. So I know there's some business going on, so I'm just going to let y'all keep doing that, because I was bragging about these guys because now Simmons Bank is in Texas. 7 states now together, right? $15 billion, and I just was telling the guys, you know, you need to try an Arkansas bank. I know those Texas banks are okay, but time to branch out a little bit, try some, and these guys are savvy now. These guys are savvy, but thank you. Let's give it up for Simmons Bank and all of our great sponsors. I want to thank Brant Bailey, Ryan Terry. They do such a good job here at the embassy. They work hard at setting this room up. It looks outstanding. No other touchdown club in America does this every week to have this kind of setup. Thank you to them. Matt Johnson, Fidelity Local 6, handling all of our high-definition live stream stuff. He did the awards banquet that I was part of last week with the World Services for the Blind. Thank you, Matt. Does a great job. Dwayne Duncan, handling all of our photography. We couldn't do it without Dwayne. And here's the deal, too, today. Red tickets are first. All right, so if you're a 50-yard line or a VIP member, sponsor, have the red ticket and get in line. As long as Earl feel like taking pictures, we'll accommodate anybody else. I've told Earl and Christian that we're really efficient. Have y'all noticed that whether it be Mike Ditka or me and Joe, that we run them through? But let the folks with the red tickets go first, and we'll get to everybody else as long as Earl feel like taking pictures. So thank you, Dwayne. RJ Hawk Social Media, handling all our Twitter account, and Instagram is also with Meredith Scott. Where's Meredith? She's with Carol Link. Meredith, great to have you here. I announced you last week and you weren't here, but it's great to have you here. Oh, that's right, Meredith Hale. I'm sorry about that. But having RJ and Meredith through our social media is outstanding. Don't forget, at LR Touchdown Club is our Twitter, Facebook page as well. Our amazing volunteer team, it checks everybody in. Earl, it's amazing. Christian, it takes about 10, 15 people every Monday to do this. Christian was asking me, so you guys do this once a quarter? And I said, I wish it was once a quarter. It's 14 straight weeks. And he goes, wow, man. He said, you bring these guys in every week. We couldn't do it without our amazing volunteer team. You see the names right there, led by Debbie Wyman, who's been spectacular. Let's give all of our great volunteers a round of applause. Couple birthday boys today. The guy who helps pick up our guests every week, and he does it quietly, and he's low-key, low-profile, but does a great job. His birthday is today. Where's Wes Sutton? Let's give it up for Wes Sutton. Happy birthday, Wes. Where you at? And Ron Skaggs is one of the three musketeers who helped set up all these little things on your table where you're supposed to sit. Where's Ron at? Been a volunteer for years. Happy birthday. Let's give it up for Ron. Happy birthday. Speaking of, we've got 40 shirts in. Debbie's holding one up now. These are from Hogman's Game Day Superstore. Great quality polos with a Touchdown Club logo on them. RJ's handling those. We got 40 in today, so hopefully, did everybody pick up most of them? Okay. So, yeah, change your shirts as you go out and pick one up and put that on your way out of here. And you can also still order them online. Thank you to Cassie Caldwell at Hogman's Game Day and RJ and Brianna for doing the monogramming. So those are real nice. Glad to see those around the club as well. All right, it's time for our All-Arkansas Prep Player of the Week. And wait till you hear the statistics on this guy. I think even Earl will be impressed by this. Right down the street, he's from Joe T. Robinson High School. He's a senior wide receiver. His name is Trevion James. Come on up, Trevion. Now, this has happened 2 weeks ago. He plays both sides of the ball. He never comes off the field. 2 weeks ago, he had 6 receptions for 141 yards and a touchdown. On defense, he had 14 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and 3 interceptions. I mean, is that not crazy? Yeah, that's unbelievable. This past week, the first play he had catching the ball was a touchdown, had a fumble recovery. Robinson is ranked number 2 in the state. He's an outstanding young man, and let's give him a Little Rock Touchdown Club welcome. Our All-Arkansas Prep Player of the Week, Trevion James. Funny, I tell our guys every week when I go over and introduce myself, I give them the routine of what we do, and I go, you take the picture, and then you can sit down. They're so relieved that no speech is involved. Great to have his mother, Christy, and his father, Tracy, here. Great to have both of you here today. Sound like you have raised an outstanding young man, and happens to be a great football player, too. And Brian Maupin from Robinson High School. Brian, congratulations on the success. Continued success for the rest of the year. It's great to have Robinson playing good football. Of course, by the way, Trevion, one of your teammates, Zach Williams, who's going to be a Razorback, his dad and I played together. Yeah, it was a great linebacker, Ricky Williams. And expecting big things. Make sure and tell the Williams family I said hello. All right, got a fun weekend recap by none other than the best who does it, Rex Nelson. Give it up for him, everybody.
Thanks, David. Big clock is running again, so here we go. It was closer this time, wasn't it? Ole Miss 37, Arkansas 33. Unfortunately, the Hogs could not hold on to a big lead again. Rebels drive 97 yards, score with 42 seconds left to win it. They go to 5-2, 1-2 in the SEC. Arkansas falls to 1-6 and 0-4. But the 51,438, as David said, the largest announced crowd in Little Rock since the Georgia game in 2014. Of course, the last 3 opponents were Florida A&M, Alcorn State, and Toledo. So give us a good game, and we will turn out. And luckily, we now have an athletic director and a coach that understand that. So Little Rock turned out in a big way. Arkansas, coming into the game, had gone 16 quarters without leading in losses to North Texas, Auburn, Texas A&M, and Alabama. Led most of that game. Dang it, let it get away at the end. By the way, it is, as we've been saying every week, our sponsor, War Memorial Stadium's 70th anniversary. That was Arkansas's 216th game at War Memorial Stadium. Hogs have still won more than twice as many as they have lost there. 151, 61, and 4. Quite a record through the years at War Memorial Stadium. Ole Miss outgained Arkansas 611 to 476. That 611 was the 10th most yards ever given up by an Arkansas defense. All right, let's move on. UCA, with RJ doing the sideline reporting, goes to 4-2 overall, 3-1 in conference, 27-17 victory over Stephen F. Austin down in Nacogdoches. UCA redshirt freshman quarterback Luke Hales. Remember, they're down to their third quarterback, but he's a good one. He was 19 of 41, 226 yards, 1 touchdown. Bears had 272 of their 379 yards of offense in the second half. UCA led just 10-7 at the half. It was 10-10 in the third quarter against the Lumberjacks, and then UCA pulls away, and the Lumberjacks fall to 1-5 and 1-4. By the way, UCA defense, great job. 13 tackles for loss and 6 sacks. Now, Jesse Mason asked me to make sure and report UAPB did not get beat on Saturday. How about that? Right, Ron? They had an open date, so, but I did want to get that in. Now, there are 13 college programs in the state of Arkansas, and now there's just one of the 13 left undefeated. Mr. Campbell, care to guess who that is? The guy next to you not only can pronounce it, he can spell it. Ouachita goes to 7-0 following a 58-21 victory in the rain and the wind and the cold at Oklahoma Baptist, which fell to 2-5. Ouachita in the national poll released this morning moves up a slot to number 4 in the country now in NCAA Division II. SAU is number 22. Harding's number 24, so we've still got 3 of the top 25 from Arkansas. That says a lot about Great American Conference football. By the way, with Cliff sitting up here, I thought I would do this today. I ran the numbers right quick, David. Since Cliff Harris Stadium opened at the start of the 2014 season, Ouachita's record in conference play is now 40-10. 40-10 since Cliff Harris Stadium opened, so he's been the good luck charm. Ouachita led that game 58-7 against Gary's alma mater, which may have dropped football a year or so ago when we just didn't realize it. That was midway through the third quarter. Ouachita pulls all of its starters. They had 562 yards of offense, 423 of that on the ground. Get this, Ouachita had no incomplete passes, no fumbles, and no punts on the afternoon. No incomplete passes, no fumbles, no punts. Now, SAU is no longer undefeated, as I mentioned. Mule Riders are now 6-1. They lost 21-0 at 5-2 Southeastern Oklahoma. It was just 7-0 in the third quarter before Southeastern pulled away. SAU quarterback Barrett Renner suffered a hip pointer, and he was 11 of 22 passing for 102 yards when he went out. And I'm not sure if he'll be back this week or not. Now, Harding moves to 5-2 following a 50-10 victory at Southwestern Oklahoma. Harding scores touchdowns against the 2-5 Bulldogs on each of its first 6 possessions. They continue to lead the nation in rushing in Division II. Bisons have won 9 consecutive regular season road games, led 36-0 at the half, 50-0 after 3 quarters. Henderson starting to get on a roll. Reddies have now won 3 consecutive games to move to 4-3. They won 31-10 in Ada, Oklahoma against 2-5 East Central Oklahoma. Henderson trailed 10-7, scores 24 consecutive points. Reddies outgain East Central 427-276. UAM wins its second straight. They improved to 3-4, 35-12 at 1-6 Southern Nazarene. Bo Weevils had 289 rushing yards, never trailed as they win that second consecutive game. Arkansas Tech falls to 2-5, 21-0. Lost to 3-4 Northwestern Oklahoma. Wonder Boys threw 4 interceptions in that game and lost a fumble. Tech has committed 12 turnovers during a bad 3-game losing streak right here, in which they've been outscored 81-23. In Division III, Hendricks falls to 1-6 overall, 0-5 in conference, 35-14 loss to 7-0 Berry College. Do want to mention that Ronnie McShane had a 100-yard interception return for the Warriors. NAI line improves to 3-4 overall, 2-3, following a 37-34 victory over Southwestern Assemblies of God in Batesville. Scots won it on a 44-yard field goal with 18 seconds left by Ignacio Gomez. Now, on to the SEC. LSU upsets Georgia 36-16 in Baton Rouge. Georgia had won all of its previous games by at least 2 touchdowns. So LSU and Georgia are both 6-1. LSU's 3-1 in conference now. Georgia's 4-1. Georgia had been averaging 42.8 points per game, but the LSU defense came to play. LSU converted 4 times also on offense on 4th down. Georgia's Jake Fromm, meanwhile, threw 2 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times in that game. I mean, it was all LSU. And how about Tennessee shocking Auburn, 30-24? Gus may be wishing he'd taken that Arkansas offer at this point. The Vols snap an 11-game SEC losing streak. They're now 3-3, 1-2 in conference. Tigers a very disappointing 4-3 overall, and also 1-3 in conference. That's their worst SEC start in 3 years. Auburn turned the ball over 3 times, and they were booed by their own fans at times in that game. Number 1, Alabama goes to 7-0 overall, 4-0 in the conference. They beat Missouri 39-10. Tigers fall to 3-3, 0-3 in the conference. Tua had passed for 265 yards and 3 touchdowns before he left with an injury at the end of the 3rd quarter. Florida now 6-1, 4-1 in conference, but they had to overcome an 18-point deficit at Vanderbilt to beat Vanderbilt 37-27 in Nashville, in which a brawl almost broke out. Now, in an actual brawl, I think I'd go with Florida. If it was a quiz bowl, I would go with Vanderbilt there. Anyway, the commissioner was there to see all of this. It looked like the 2 head coaches, if you've seen the clip, were going to go against each other at one point. Vanderbilt 3-4 overall, 0-3 in the conference. Vandy led that game 21-3 midway through the 2nd quarter and couldn't hang on. Aggies of Texas A&M 5-2. 3-1 overall, following a 26-23 win over South Carolina, which falls to 3-3 and 2-3. Aggies are 5-0 against the Gamecocks since joining the SEC in 2012. Earl, you know, there's very little Arkansas fans and Texas fans can agree on, but that's one. We both hate the Aggies, right? So they moved to 5-2 with that win. Now, this week we got a lot of games in Arkansas. This is the week in the GAC, for instance, that all of the Oklahoma teams come over here. Now, there are 2 games Thursday that you can get out and see. Georgia State is at Arkansas State. They had that weird Tuesday game last week. They play Thursday this week. I think y'all are going to be up there with the radio show, aren't you, David? And beautiful improvements to the stadium. So Georgia State at Arkansas State. Or if you want a little shorter drive, check out Cliff Harris Stadium. Southern Nazarene plays Ouachita in Arkadelphia on Thursday night. Then on Saturday, of course, Tulsa at Arkansas for the early start. Northwestern State out of Natchitoches, Louisiana at UCA. Northwestern Oklahoma at Harding. East Central Oklahoma at Southern Arkansas. Southeastern Oklahoma at Henderson. Southwestern Oklahoma at Arkansas Tech, and Oklahoma Baptist at UAM. You know what that means? It means no excuses. Games in Jonesboro, 2 in Arkadelphia, Fayetteville, Conway, Searcy, Magnolia, Russellville, Monticello. Get off the couch, get out and see a college football game this week. Thanks, everybody.
All right. I think Earl and Christian Campbell would agree. Too many colleges in Oklahoma. Who needs all those colleges in Oklahoma? My goodness. I feel like Groundhog Day. I do it every week, it seems. News just in. Vanderbilt, Arkansas, 11 o'clock kickoff.
Oh, wow.
Is that not crazy? This week is at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Wow, that's what happens when you don't win. So anyway, just got that in. Also, hey, our condolences go out to Bill Vickery. Some of you may know Bill. Bill was a founding member of our Touchdown Club. You don't get to see him very much because he's on the road quite a bit, but from Fort Smith, Van Buren area. Does a show on the Buzz every Sunday. Very talented guy. He lost his mom unexpectedly Saturday. Yeah. On the right, I think just before the Razorback game, and he's an only child, so I can imagine how that's tough for him. So say a prayer for him. Also, Rick Schaefer, many of you know, we've had here at the Touchdown Club, had a heart issue right before the game at War Memorial. Rushed him to UAMS. I won't get into the details, but they had to do a procedure on him. He's going to be okay. He'll be out of the hospital Thursday. Apparently, Rick has never been in the hospital. That's the first time he's ever been in, but apparently that's why he needed to be there. So anyway. So Rick's a great guy, and so say a prayer for Rick. I want to introduce a couple folks here real quick. Great to see Grant Garrett over here. He switched sides on the far side. I think you've had perfect attendance, right, Grant? See, to do anything, to be involved in the Touchdown Club, perfect attendance is mandatory, and you're doing a great job so far. Good job. Also, the guy who the only loss that Arkansas had in the 1977 season, of course, is to these guys right here. So the way he made up for it, he quarterbacked Arkansas to the biggest upset win in Razorback history. Ron Calcagney is here. Where's Ron at? Stand up, Ron. Where's he at? There he is. So good that you got a chance to visit with him, Earl. And 13-9, I think. I'm sure that Jim will mention that game. And but you made up for it by beating Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl, Ron. Great to have you here. Also, if you notice, Earl needed a scooter for a little bit. Who else did we call on? But Ernie Murray, another former Razorback. He's with American Medical Rentals now. The owner's Vince Wren. He's a sales associate there. Let's give it up for Ernie Murray. Ernie, welcome. You come back anytime you want to. Also, I wanted to recognize, I've got my cousin who is from Panama City, Florida. Her name is Alicia and her husband, Stephen. They're living in Savannah. But Alicia, all of their family stayed and tried to ride it out. And it's, matter of fact, her brother tweeted out today, it's our Katrina. Said the schools are going to be out. All the schools will be done for the rest of the year. There's no running water, no electricity. It'll be that way for a month. So welcome, Alicia and Stephen, and, even though they're from Savannah, Georgia right now. As always, it's great to have Cliff here. We'll let Cliff say a word about tackling Earl Campbell here in just a minute. But, Cliff, great to have you. Let's give it up for Cliff Harris, everybody. And I want to recognize Earl's son, Christian. I'm a member of the National Awards Association for College Football, and Christian was there representing the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award, and they're getting ready to go into our membership. And anyway, he's who I worked with, and I'll tell you, Earl, this is to me, this is the truth. Listen, I know you're one of the greatest players ever, but you know what your greatest legacy is right down there. And he is an outstanding young man. I can't tell you how polite, respectful, punctual, everything. I was like, man, I know, because I know about we'll talk about your family life. But please welcome Christian Campbell, everybody. And this is going to be fun. We have a lot of ground to cover, but it's all about Earl now. Jim Rasco, come up and give us a great introduction. Jim Rasco, everybody.
Okay, I just thought of this. This is not going to count against my 4 minutes, but just to prove how old I am, David Grimes saw him at the ball game Saturday night, and he pointed out that he was correct, that was my 71st consecutive year to see the Razorbacks play at least one game in War Memorial Stadium. So is there anybody else here that's seen them play? It's the 70th anniversary, starting the 71st year. Mac Moore, did you see him 71 straight years? All right. So I may be a club of one. I've never found anybody else that's seen them play all 71 years. Okay, here we go. Let's cover the entire career of Earl Campbell in the fastest 4 minutes that I'm allowed in football history. Most of you know that Earl played his high school football for the John Tyler High Lions in Tyler, Texas. In 1971, Earl was an all-district linebacker and voted Sophomore of the Year. In 1972, I read the results of one of his games. The newspaper referred to him as a vicious linebacker on defense who turned offensive hero in the first quarter. First, he kicked a 35-yard field goal. Then he ran 30 yards for a touchdown. And when the snap for conversion was bobbled, Campbell picked it up and ran it in for a 2-point conversion. So he had scored all 11 points, giving John Tyler High an 11-0 lead in the first quarter. Remember that game? All right. At the end of the season, he repeated as all-district linebacker, named Defensive Player of the Year. In 1973, I read an article in the Longview, Texas paper. It gave a scouting report on the John Tyler Lions. Their weakness? they have only a one-man offense. Their strength, that's all they need. That's verbatim right out of the Longview paper right before they were playing them. At the end of the 1973 season, Parade magazine announced its annual All-American High School team. It's no surprise that Earl Campbell was one of 7 players from the state of Texas named to that team. And now for a trivia question for the audience. Who were the 2 Arkansas players named to the Parade All-American team that year in 1973? First, who was the lineman? Nope, right here in Little Rock, Hall High. Leotis Harris, who went on to be the first African-American to be an All-American for the Razorbacks. Now, guess what future Razorback was named the #1 back in the entire United States that year, even over Earl Campbell? I got Jerry Eckwood, 6'1", 205-pound running back. Okay, back to my notes. Let's jump to Earl Campbell's freshman year at the University of Texas. October 20, 1974, the Longhorns are playing host to the Razorbacks. Second quarter, Texas leading 3-0. Arkansas's driving, but they lose a fumble, and the Longhorns take over on their own 26. First down, it's Campbell for 2. Second down, it's Campbell for 4. 3rd and 4. Arkansas nose guard slants the wrong way, and Campbell, the paper said, has 4.4 speed in the 40, despite his 6'1", 226-pound frame, cruises 68 yards for a touchdown. Remember that one, Earl? Yeah, okay. Now here's a play that I literally will never forget. Arkansas is forced to punt a few seconds before the end of the half. So Texas sends in Earl and lines him up at nose guard and calls for a punt block called right rush. Campbell brushes right past the center and then the up back, blocks the punt with his left arm, resulting in a Texas touchdown and a 17-0 halftime lead. After the game, Campbell was asked about the whereabouts of the Arkansas up back when he came blowing through. Earl said, "Well, he took a step to the right. You know those up backs don't like to block anyway." At the end of Earl's freshman year, he's named first-team All-Southwest Conference. As a sophomore in 1975, he leads the Southwest Conference in rushing, repeats first-team All-Southwest Conference, named first-team All-America by the American Football Coaches Association. Then leg injuries caused him to miss almost half his junior year in 1976. But he comes back as a senior in 1977. He leads the nation in rushing, was a unanimous All-American, and became the first Texas Longhorn to be awarded the Heisman Trophy. I'm not going to talk about Earl taking a screen pass and running 28 yards to the 1-yard line in the 4th quarter against Arkansas, giving the Longhorns a 13-9 victory and handing Arkansas their only loss of the season. I did find an article published on December the 8th, 1977, where Earl picked Arkansas to beat Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl because he thinks Arkansas can move the ball on Oklahoma. We all know he was right. Cal Cagney and the rest of them led us to a 31-6 victory. Great prediction. He had played against Oklahoma and Arkansas, and he predicted Arkansas to win. Okay, now I have about 1 minute to cover some highlights of his NFL Hall of Fame career. 1978, he leads the league with 1,450 rushing yards, unanimous first-team All-Pro, Offensive Player of the Year, and selected league MVP by the Professional Football Writers and by the NEA. 1979, leads the league with 1,697 yards and 19 touchdowns. He repeats unanimous first-team All-Pro, Offensive Player of the Year, unanimous MVP, and also the Burt Bell Award as Player of the Year. Let me get to page 4. 1980, leads the league in rushing with 1,934 yards, unanimous All-Pro, AP Offensive Player of the Year, NEA MVP for the 3rd consecutive year. 1981, gains 1,376 yards on the ground, named to play in his 4th consecutive Pro Bowl All-Star game. 1982, injuries sidelined him for almost half the season, but he came back in 1963 to rush for 1,301 yards and 12 touchdowns and is named to play in the Pro Bowl for the 5th time. Injuries forced him to retire after the 1985 season, but he winds up his NFL career with 10,213 yards rushing and receiving, and he scored 74 rushing touchdowns. I'm sure that I've gone over my 4 minutes, so I'll close by saying that our speaker's been inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame. Texas has retired his jersey number 20. He's been inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and the Houston Oilers jersey number 34 has been retired. So here is the winner of the 1977 Heisman Trophy, Hall of Famer Earl Campbell.
Places that I've never been, seeing things that I may never see again, and I can't wait to get on the road again, on the road again. Like a band of gypsies, we go down the highway. We're the best of friends, insisting that the world keep turning our way, on the road again. I just can't wait to get on the road. Making music with my friends, and I can't wait to get on the road again.
All right. I think only Earl Campbell can come in here and do a hook 'em horn sign and not be booed out of the room. All right, we're a little bit lower than we are. Matt, you got us pretty good on the camera there? Can everybody see? Well, I don't know if you noticed, Earl, but we played a little Willie Nelson. Is that on, Matt? Try to.
I can't do anything but swallow. Of course I heard Willie Nelson. How could I miss that? I would like to say this before we start. Yes. I would like to say it's a pleasure to be here. But I also would like to say that Cummins Bank did a great job getting me here, so thank you all very much. And I will say this, you know, a lot goes on about me, but and I lost my father when I was in the 5th grade. My mother raised all 11 children. And I don't know, my family was in the rose business. And we worked in the rose fields for other people. But when it came to Earl, I was the only one that did not like that rose field. I only went to the rose fields because my mother cooked lunch. And I went to eat. I could work pretty good until 12 o'clock. After that, I could always see myself in an airplane or something, doing something different. But I realized when I was in the 8th grade that God gave me something very special. And that was to be an athlete. And I wanted it. And I worked for it. And I played with guys that made me look good. I didn't really do that much. Anybody can run, but the guys did the other work. So it's a pleasure to be here, and as I said before, Cummins Bank does a great job, and I have to be on my P's and Q's because I know y'all had all these other guys in here, so act right.
I tell you what, we'll do it without it. So here's the deal, Earl.
I can hear that.
The last time we saw you, Matt, go up there if you can. Go up there the last time we saw Earl. Do that for me, please. This was the last time we saw you, Earl. This was back in 1977. And I was going to ask you, you know, Jim was talking about that. Do you remember that game, 13-9? Do you remember it?
More than the game. I remember the string pass and all that, but after the game, you know, I never really did anything but just run. I mean, I can remember when Darryl Royer one time told me we was finna play Oklahoma. He says, "Hey, son, come here." I walked over. He said, "Yeah." I says, "Yes, sir." He said, "Do you understand, Earl, that we have this amount of time to run a play, and you walking, we don't have very much time. So we went and played Oklahoma, and I was running back and forth to the huddle, but I couldn't run it all. So we came to the sideline. He says, "Hey, Earl, come here. What's the problem?" I said, "Coach, you know, you got on me by running back to the huddle. I can't. And by the time I come up, get back up there, I just can't do both of them." He said, "Hell, son, get in the huddle the best way you can." So and that's really true. I mean, I remember coming to Arkansas, and we got the string pass and all that. And after the game, you know, I did the same thing, walk a lot. So, bam, I'm saying, whoa, what is that? So I would look at cops that keep your head down, son. Run on in, they throwing balls at you. And I said, I didn't do anything.
Wow.
Get your ass out of here.
Did we? I didn't know we did that.
I remember that play.
Okay, wow. Well, that was obviously, you know, I was talking with Earl about the Broyles Award and Frank Broyles, and you remember even after your career ended, the relationship that Frank Broyles had with Darrell Royal.
Yes, they was very good friends. They was like brothers. Coach Royal taught me how to play golf, and before I hurt my back, I gotten it down to a 9 handicap, and all I did was play golf. My church used to think, I remember when they was young, and they used to say, "You're a golfer or a football player." And Frank Broyles and Coach Royal would always play, and Coach Royal used to say, "You want to go to Augusta with us?" I said, "No, that's fine. Right here is good enough for me, Austin." Well, I don't know about the Masters, and I wish I could do that because those guys play a lot of golf at the Masters together. That's right. But they was very good friends.
You know, Darrell Royal, you mentioned you lost your father when you were in the 5th grade. And what about Darrell Royal? What did he mean to you, and what kind of role did he play in your life?
Well, he was, you know, the amazing thing about me, after I lost my father, the different coaches I had each year. Like when I was in junior high, it was a guy named Butch LaGuire. He was from Louisiana. So he came over to Texas, and he got me in junior high. So when I went to the high school, they couldn't control me at the high school. So they brought Coach LaGuire over, and the rest is history. But when I went down to UT, I thought I left everything. You know, my dad passed, Coach LaGuire, then here this guy, Darrell Royal. So I don't know, you know, it's hard because you play for somebody like that, and he's so big, and then here come you, and everybody want to see you. Well, your teammates looking at you, and they say, "Oh, you can do it. Go tell him. He'll let you do anything." I said, "No, Coach Royal ain't like that." So we got to be good friends. We was friends when I played, but after I got out of football, it was even bigger. But more importantly, whatever I needed, like when I got out of college, I mean, I came to UT with 2 pair of pants, and one of them was cut off, and a suit. But, I mean, my mom didn't give me no car, and I even hitchhiked a ride down there for the maid. She was a maid for these people, so their son went to UT, so that's how I got there. And I think the main thing Coach Royal liked it about me because Barry Switzer, he wanted me to come play football for him, and I'm not embarrassed to say it, but there were some things that happened, and at 18 years old, I made the statement to tell Barry Switzer that I think I'm going to Texas because our people, my people, have sold themselves enough. So he was trying to do the car, the clothes, and all that.
Oh, really? Oh, really? Listen, he's been here before, Earl. He said the statute of limitations is up, so he's okay.
Well, you know, the best thing about that, he's out of ball. I'm out of ball now, so that's history. But Coach Royal and I got to be friends that way because he saw that I was more than just a kid. I mean, I was a kid in age, but my mind was really always working. So we got to be very good because of that.
You know, it's amazing. Because of Darrell Royal, I thought this was interesting to do some research on Earl. is that Darrell Royal loved country music.
Yes.
And I'm mad if you can punch up those first 2 picks that Christian showed me one of them. And then we got a couple more. This is you on stage with Willie Nelson.
Yeah, Christian.
And so I want to know if this is true. I know there's a couple more, Matt, if you just punch those up real quick. There's you and Willie again. I think there might be one more of a beardless. That's when you were the Oilers. Now, is it true, you were talking about Darrell Royal would do things a little bit different, that he would call you up and say, Earl, don't tell any of the other players, but come over because we're going to have a guitar jam with Willie Nelson. And that's how you became friends with Willie. Is that right?
I think it really started with, that's true, but one night we was after practice and he says, hey guys, tonight, and you know, I didn't know, I mean, I come from Diana Ross, B.B. King, Temptations, you know, that's what I was used to coming from Tyler. So he says, hey Earl, I said, well, he told the team, say, hey guys, tonight a friend of mine is going to pick the guitar up in the tea room. That's where they have all the All-American pictures and all this. And the guys that didn't have nothing, that's where they would go for entertainment like me. So he says, if you guys want to hear my friend pick the guitar, come up there. So out of the 3 white guys, I was the only black guy showed up. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just did it for the hell of it. And I got up there and said, what is that? But I faked it pretty good. So that's how we got to be friends. And the guy, Willie Nelson, is a very good friend of mine. We've done things together. The one thing I like about him is that he's always interested in helping people. And when I was in college, you know, him and Waylon Jennings used to get busted on this corner. And also, next minute they down here, they get busted. I said, what them guys doing? Them grown men. But I would see him when he'd go across campus, you know, and people would recognize him. And he'd always stop, sign their autographs, be nice to him. I said, if I ever make it, I'm going to be like that. So that's where I got a lot of that from. From Willie Nelson.
Yeah, and the other thing I noticed, I read somewhere where you like Merle Haggard because you said talk slow like Merle Haggard, and you love the lyrics of Merle Haggard.
I never swim Kern River again.
And matter of fact, what we're going to do for pictures today, instead of having a fight song, we're going to play Merle and Willie the whole time we're taking pictures today.
Oh, that's all right.
Yes.
I mean, but I want you all to know this. It's a real honor to be here. I mean, playing sports, football is what I did. That's what I love to do. I wasn't shy about that. And the reason I got that way, God gave me that gift, as I told you before. But it was because of the people like this sitting up there, Cliff. It was those guys that played sports, and I was in Tyler. I wanted to be what those guys were. And hopefully in my lifetime, I've done something in my life that maybe that young man that I shook hands with will one day say, I want to do that. And I hope you don't forget that when you go to college, you just don't go to school to play football. You go to get an education. I mean, you go to, you set a foundation. I mean, I would hate to have done what all God had blessed me to do as an athlete and my children. I mean, what kind of example would I have set for them if they just said, hey, I just played football. And they said, well, Dad, I said, I want your kids to go to school. They would say, well, you didn't go to school. Yeah, I went to school. I didn't go by there. Well, that's because I went and I got an education. I just wasn't a football player because when I came out, people was taught just to go to school and go to the next level of pro, and that was it. But to go to school, I got a bachelor's in special education. And I'm proud of that, and that's what I had a chance to tell my kids when they were your age. I want you to go to school. I want you to make something out of yourself because football is not for everybody. Now my son works for me. But he's my son. He's my manager. He got a brother. His brother went to San Diego State, graduated in business, and now he works in our part of the meat business. So what I'm saying is it's more to life than just football. I mean, we are human beings. We cry, we hurt, we do everything just like you know.
You mentioned Cliff Harris. We've done this about every time. We did it last week with Larry Zonka.
I tell you something. One time I bust through the Houston Oilers, and Cliff Harris and his buddy was back. What's your buddy name, Cliff? Charlie Waters. And Charlie Waters marries a girl from Tyler, the Apache Bells. I mean, he's a pretty boy. Well, one time, Bump Phillips, this is a pep talk. He said, well, hell, the Dallas Cowboys is America's team, but we Texas team. Boy, we went out there and played them on that Thanksgiving Day, and I broke through that line, and Charlie Waters and Chris Harris were back there, and I put a big stiff arm on them. I had so much fun against the Dallas Cowboys. And when I first saw him sitting on stage, it was so hard for me to look at him. I kept saying, excuse me, sir. Then I look up, it's him.
Cliff, see if that mic works. Here, let me give you.
But he looks great. I mean, he's big time, too. He got a stadium name now.
Got a stadium.
He's hiding over here and not telling people in Texas the whole story about him.
Oh, I can tell you. Over the years, I've been asked many, many times, who was the best running back you ever played against? And I said, there's one guy, that's Earl Campbell.
Thank you.
I know that one time in our preseason games, Earl was just getting started. And I'd been in the league about 8 years or 9 years, 8 years, I guess, and I'd made All-Pro several times. Well, all the second-string guys and third-string guys, they bailed out. They pulled muscles. They hurt a knee, and so I had to start in preseason. We were playing the Astrodome, and oh my gosh, it was Earl right, Earl left. I came out of that. I had to recover weeks. Yeah. I've got to tell you one story. We had a super team competition. We ran a superstar competition in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And Earl was sitting next to me, and one of the events was, instead of swimming or riding a bike or running, was lifting weights. I said, maybe I can get in and get a 2 points or something. So Earl was sitting next to me, and we were doing this power press where David's a weightlifter, and you just take the bar off and you use your legs. And I said, Earl, here's what you do. You've got to bend down, take it off the bar, and then use your legs and push it up. And I tried it, and I just barely got it. Earl went over and went like this. I was like, oh, well. So I was out. So.
And the amazing thing about that, to this day, I was telling him on the radio, one of the things I could never do, I never could lift weights. And in high school, one time, a guy was giving away T-shirts to everybody that lift 225 pounds. So I said, I want a T-shirt. Guy said, hey, Earl, go in there and lift. You'll get your blue T-shirt. I said, I get a John Tyler T-shirt if I lift. So that's all I did. I bench pressed 225 pounds, got a T-shirt left. When I was with the Oilers one time, Bump Phillips says, hey, Bump Phillips never knew my name was Earl Campbell. From the first time he ever met me, my name was E.C. He says, hey, E.C., at practice, he says, I tell you what, I want all the rookies, 1978, to go in and lift weights after practice. I was a rookie, but I never lift weights, so I didn't think that meant me, right? The next day, he said, E.C., come here. I said, yes, sir. He said, did you not hear me say all the rookies go in there and lift weights? I said, yes, sir. He said, why didn't you go in there? I said, I hate to tell you, Coach, but I never done that. I don't know how to do that. He said, son, where in the hell did all this come from?
That's what I thought.
I said, Coach, the good Lord gave me that, but I've never lifted weights. He said, well, I'm going to find you 10,000, but I said, huh? So I got fined 10,000, and I would go in that weight room from now on. I'd mess around in there. I never could lift weights, though. I didn't like that.
Cliff Harris, everybody. By the way, where's Karen Harris? Cliff's wife is here somewhere. Let's give it up for Karen Harris. It's always good to see Karen here. Earl, one of the things we've said, we've always felt that Cliff should be in the NFL Hall of Fame. 5 Super Bowls in 10 years, undrafted, the amazing career that he had. What are your thoughts about that?
He has great credentials, and I think I'm going to tell Cliff something. Outside of your credentials, you have to start every now and then coming back to the Hall of Fame if they skip over us. And I don't want you to feel bad, because I had a friend named Robert Brazil. Mr. Doom, that's his name. He did everything. And they skipped over him all these years, and they finally got in this past year. But Cliff, I'm sure it's enough Dallas Cowboys can tell you this, but there's got to be somebody with the Dallas Cowboys in the press business that's knew about when you played. What they need to do is you need to go tell Jerry Jones to get that press guy and get you, and y'all need to get up for the Hall of Fame.
There it is. How about that? Earl Campbell advice right there. Hey, listen, that's a great endorsement from one of the greatest running backs of all time. We got to do this, Earl, because we did it last week with Zonka. If we could, let's, Ron, just hit the lights for a second. Matt, let's show 90-second clip and remind us how good Earl Campbell was.
I thought it was
More juice it, Matt.
kind of girlish for one guy to tackle me. I mean, I wanted to have a bunch of them.
They would show him running the ball, then they would back it up in reverse and show all the people he had run over. I see him run over people, and then I see him run around, and I never saw him get caught from behind.
When there was 4 minutes left of the game, we were ahead and we had the ball, it was over. You know, he ran so low that there was nothing to tackle.
Jack Tatum right here on this hit. This is a great run by Earl. And maybe the greatest run in NFL history, this next one right here against the Rams. Everybody's seen it. And you got to love the tearaway jerseys. They're not bringing him down. How about that? Earl Campbell, everybody. Ron, you can turn those back up if you want to, buddy. He's having trouble. We may be in the dark. I tell you what, if you'll push all of them up, I bet you one of them gets it.
Get some lamps.
Well, you know what? We'll talk in the dark then.
Yeah, go ahead. That's good.
Tell me about, we talked about Darrell Royal. Talk about thank you. Talk about Bum Phillips. What was Bum Phillips like compared to Darrell Royal? He drafted you first.
Well,
he traded to get you first.
The thing about Bum, you know, it was, remember I told you I came to college with a couple pair of pants and that's all? Well, Bum, he liked them cowboy boots and blue jeans. Let me tell you, I had an endorsement with Nakona boots. I had a contract with Wrangler jeans. I was fine with that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it would just, he would just say stuff like, I'm not sure he knew that much about football. And I'm serious when I say that. But he damn sure knew a lot about good people. And Cliff will tell you, you know, he's been on teams. You take everybody in college as an ego, right? Everything, and nobody's getting paid. You try being a head coach, and everybody is getting paid, plus they all a star in college, and they got to be a star in the NFL. Well, Bum's big thing was he knew how to handle that. And it wasn't, he didn't raise his voice at you. He chewed that tobacco, and I dipped that tobacco. So, I mean, we got along great, but he was just, and Cliff know what I'm talking about, he was a player's coach. Everything he did was for the players, was for you. He didn't, somebody asked me not long ago, say, about this national anthem thing. Say, Earl, what would you do if you was on the Houston Oilers and this was going on? I said, hey man, it wouldn't have been left up to me. It wouldn't have been left up to Brazil. It wouldn't have been left up to Pastorini. Whatever Bum Phillips said, that's what everybody did. Everybody respected him that much. He was just a great guy. I remember one time he was playing in the Astrodome. It was like 2 or 3 games. We was going to get in the playoffs. Nobody really wanted to play. So the Astrodome, that was my first time ever hearing boos before. So they was booing us because nobody really wanted to play. So at halftime, Bum said, hey, the coaches was trying to draw. He said, all the coaches, y'all get out of here. He said, y'all hear them boos out there, guys? Certain guys said, yeah, we heard those boos. He said, all of them ain't for me. Some of them for y'all. He was just that kind of guy. I mean, if you had a problem, I mean, and our biggest renegade on the team back then was Pastorini. I mean, he would make go and record card tonight, and he'd go quarterback tomorrow. And you may be at practice, and here come Farrah Fawcett. Playboy, the latest woman Pastorini had her, and he'd bring her to practice, you know. Bum was just the captain. He was just, he was everything you wanted from not only a coach, but from a dad, from a man standpoint. And whether he had been through what you was going through, he made you feel like I had a sore toe before. I had this. But the greatest thing, I never will forget this, when I got drafted by the Oilers, I didn't have nothing in college. I mean, I'm serious. I get drafted by the Oilers. I sitting in the office talking, so just to play for the Oilers, just to say, okay, I'm going to play. They give me $1 million check. Say, whoa. I try to play it cool in front of the owner and stuff, you know. I mean, I got $1 million check. I ain't never had no money. I mean, I grew up in the country with 7 boys and 4 girls. We live in a 3-bedroom house. The biggest bed I had was sitting in that dorm in UT. I got $1 million. Bum Phillips, I'm sitting in his office. He said, EC. So yeah. He says, you see it? Turn right behind you. So I turned behind. I said, yeah. He said, you see a tall building right behind you? I said, yes, sir. He said, you go put that money in that bank till you get back to Austin, tell Darryl Roy what you done done so you know what to do with it. I said, Mom. He said, do what I tell you. I go to the bank, you know, and I says, my name is Earl Campbell. I said, oh, yeah, we just drafted you #1. I'm saying, hey, I want to put this in the bank, but I want $1,000 because I'm going back to college. She said, what? I said, yes, ma'am. Bum told me to come over and put the money in the bank. I want $1,000 out of there because I got to go back to UT. I get $1,000. I leave the money in the bank. Bum was that kind of guy because some people could have took advantage of me. Right. And I got hooked up with people like the banker and accountant and tax people. And that guy is 92 years old. Last Friday, he's sitting in my house, and he was talking to me. He says, Earl, you remember that time you wanted a Rolls Royce? I said, yeah. I said, yeah, Mr. Greer. He said, I wouldn't let you get that Rolls Royce. Remember that? I said, yeah. He said, you remember that house you built for your mother? I said, yeah. He said, you remember that ranch you bought? I said, yeah. He said, that's the kind of stuff. But I did things like that because I was willing to listen to people. And Bum was just that kind of guy. I mean, he was just good people, man. Just always trying to help you out. And when God called him home, you know, he was like all the rest of us. He done his job. But he done it well. And every time I see his son coaching for the Rams, see, that's his son, the defensive coach for the LA Rams. I can imagine what he's telling them boys because when I was with the Oilers, he had just gotten out of college, so Bum let him coach the defensive lineman. And he had like Curly Cup, Evan Bethea. He's a boy, and Evan Bethea and them are grown men. So now I play offense, right? So I would go walking across the field. Wade had them out there running. They say, hey, Wade, especially Curly Cup, he's a mean bastard. Hey, Wade. Wade said, yes, sir. Yes, Curly. That's your brother. Go over there and kiss him. You ain't making him run. I play offense, not defense. I had nothing to do with Curly and them. They'd always just pick on Wade, and he had to put up with that because everybody believed that I was Bum's son. I mean, we were so close. Right. And when Bum died, his wife asked his daughters, say, did y'all call him to tell him that Bum passed? Says, Mom, you know we call Wade. No, we talking about your other brother. I mean, the family even felt like that about me, so.
Before we let you go, real quick, I want to encourage everybody.
I could sit here all day. Everybody.
I'm sure they would enjoy that.
Everybody seems so interested in what I'm saying, and I want to tell y'all something. I thank you all very much because the same way I'm talking to you guys and young ladies, this is the way I live every day. I mean, what you see is what you get from me. I mean, I don't ever wear socks. And people ask me all the time, why don't I ever wear socks? Because I had 6 brothers, and that was one thing in our house I never could. Don't get my socks, Willie. Don't get my socks, Herbert. So when I got to where I could afford socks, the only time I wore socks was when I had on cowboy boots in football. Outside of that, I don't wear socks. So, I mean, I'm country, but more important, I mean, it's a great pleasure for you all to have me here. It's a great pleasure for you all to invite people like me to come out, to share stories with you, to see you. Because as I said before, we all are just human beings. We're athletes, we're human beings. So thank you all very much for having me. And if, I know Joe Green came up here and pulled his deal on you guys. Don't even tell me. I know what he did. No autographs, right?
That's right. No
I know he's different. But he's my buddy. He's a great guy. I mean, I tell you a little story about Joe and I. You was talking about making the Pro Bowl all those years. Joe and I was out playing football in Hawaii. So the wives have to do something. So all these years I never knew my wife knew Joe Green's wife. Joe and I was friends, you know, I'd see him on these autograph shows and stuff, and we talked. So when his wife passed, he called me one day and said, Earl, I just want to let you know, man, that my wife passed. I said, oh, Joe, I'm sorry, you know. And then I told my wife, Joe calls me back a couple of months after the services and everything. He says, Earl, I just want you to know, you know, I'm going to start a scholarship fund in my wife's name. So if you want to, I said, oh, no problem. I said, my wife, Renee, I says, hey, Joe having a scholarship fund for his wife up there in North Texas, and you can send whatever. And not that big. I didn't know it was going to be that big of a check. But anyway, I did not know that my wife knew Joe Green's wife like she did. But he's an exceptional man. I mean, he's great. But what I was going to say is, I want a picture, you want an autograph. Until the bank got the plane to leave, I'll stay here, I'll sign your autograph, I'll be friends with you.
How about that? The great Earl Campbell, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thanks, Earl. Nathan Brown next week, Steve Atwater 2 weeks.